Hey, 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 welcome into the inaugural episode of Halos in the Infield podcast. We're doing little things on the fly for this first show. As you see the green screen in the background, we are not completely ready. I just came off a post-game show. My name is Toddfox with my co-host, which is the world famous. That's you.
Fernando Mendez.
There you go, Fernando Mendez. Yeah, he always pauses. He makes a pregnant pause before he goes all in on the name.
I call it the Garrett Cole pause.
There you go. Dude, that was awkward.
I was just like, I was talking to one of my friends, like, didn't they, like, the PR department for the Yankees just think to themselves, like, this question might come up. Let's teach you how to, like, dodge and weave the question. Like, hey, do you guys like weather? Or do you guys like Denny's? Like, just anything. Literally anything but. He was like a deer in the headlights. He was deer in headlights. It was hilarious.
Dude, some third graders would have came up with a faster response. I mean, this guy, I mean, yeah, he was deer in the headlights for sure. But let's get into some Angels baseball, man.
Well, real quick, I was going to say you're a dad, so you of all people should know that, like, third graders are the best liars.
Oh, that's true.
But now that we threw that out there and we already threw our kids under the bus, we'll move on now.
Hey, when they're also female and they're teenagers, they become very good liars. So I have that too.
Yeah, we can talk about that all night. So.
Oh yeah, that's a different podcast altogether, bro. So, man, right there, you're at your studio right now, or at your place right now with Angels gear. I'm here. You're going to see a lot of us here, and then most likely in the future, all together in one room as this COVID moves out. But for right now, this is the inaugural episode, and we're going to talk some Angels baseball because this is what we're here for on Halos in the Infield, the new podcast here. And with Fernando Mania in the house, we're going to go back a couple days, and we're going to talk about how the Angels got themselves to 500. And they did it against two very good – well, let me rephrase that. Two mediocre teams in who?
In the Royals and the Diamondbacks.
What are your thoughts on that double sweep, first off?
I'll go ahead and start off by saying that the Angels took care of the teams that they needed to take care of. And you've been on record saying that several times on the show. People can say all they want, like, oh, look at the teams they're playing. These are the teams they should beat. But that's the key phrase. These are the teams they should beat. They went out there, they got the job done, regardless on who, even if they play the Easter Bunny. The point is they got the sweep. They did what they needed to. They took care of their business then. But now we have a bigger task at hand, which we'll get to.
Absolutely. And they did it in a couple of games very impressively. And it's one of those things where one of the games looked pretty ugly at times, but a win's a win. At the end of the day, I'm not going to care about if we won by 11 or if we won by 1 run. So the fact that they took those 6 games against mediocre clubs, like you said, took care of business, that sets it up good for the Oakland series, which we'll get into. But if you want to dive into a little bit of the Kansas City one, first off, do you have any thoughts on the Royals series? I'll pull it up right here.
Yeah. So what the Royals series, we start off with Monday, that 8-3 win. Mm-hmm. And I think that's when Upton was in the middle of that home run streak, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Because he had was it 4 straight games hitting a home run?
Yes, at that leadoff spot, yes.
Yes. And then the second game, I was at that game, the 8-1 game. That was the one where Ohtani hit that absolute missile to the outfield. I remember just like as soon as that ball was hit, like everyone just immediately knew. There was no, you looked over to admire the home run, but I probably could have just closed my eyes and known like that was gone.
So you could have closed your eyes and just went on bat noise, right? And could have known it was gone.
It was gone. It was gone. I've gone to enough games, and any just overall baseball fan would just kind of knows that sound.
It's funny you mentioned that because Chase on was one of the contributors here on the page, and he said he went to the Angel game where he hit that one in spring training over the big wall in center field. He said he's never heard a bat crack that loud. So I imagine you heard something similar to that in that game against the Royals.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and you played baseball, so like that must have been one of those swings where Ohtani probably thought he didn't even hit it. You know what I mean? Where you just get really good contact, and you're just like, oh man, I missed the ball, and people are like, no, it went over the fence. You're like, what? I didn't even feel it.
Yeah.
It was just one of those swings. You could tell.
That's awesome. And it was, like I said, two good victories in a row. You scored 16 runs, back-to-back 8 runs. So in the first 2 games, you've outscored them 16-4. So that's already a good start. Game 3 was what against the Royals?
6-1. So just a shellacking all the way around. I mean, they scored, 5 runs the entire series.
Yeah, and you go back to it, and you think of where this team was almost at full strength in Kansas City, and you blew 2 of 3 to Kansas City. You didn't put up much runs at all. You know, the pitching was there, but you didn't do anything. So you come here in Anaheim, and I'm expecting, you know, maybe Perez goes off, and, you know, they have some hitters. But wow, they took it to them, and it was nice to see. You kind of wish they did that in Kansas City as well. But, hey, you know, they did it when they had to do it.
Yeah, you know, the Royals are one of those teams that ever since 2014, they have just had our number.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what, man, it just seems like we were losing every series to the Royals. And very clear instances where the Angels on paper were much better teams than the Royals, yet we just kept getting our butts handed to us by the Royals. So it was certainly nice to finally sit on the opposite side of the scorecard where we actually sweep the series, you know, let alone win just in general. So
I agree. It was nice to see, and good to see here at the Big A. So then the Diamondbacks, we go to Arizona, where traditionally it's not a team we play very much at all, obviously being in the National League West. I think I remember them here more than us there. But I was amazed to see so many damn Angel fans there. I mean, that was like 70-30. You know what I mean? It was nice to see.
Well, in all fairness, I mean, Tempe is only, 5 to 10 miles away. It's certainly not far in terms of minutes. Mm-hmm. So I would imagine the Angels probably have a lot more fans in Tempe than we think they do. Mm-hmm. I know a couple of people who traveled out there. So, you know, some people could have viewed that as a vacation, especially because Arizona's a lot more open. So maybe everyone's like, oh, let's go to the Diamondbacks game.
Could be.
So many different reasons why that could have happened. But it was nice to see for sure.
Yeah. And the thing about the Diamondbacks is they started out 15-13. So they actually started out with a better record than the Angels. They are now 5-25 in their last 30. So they ended that series something like 26-40, 26-41. That's terrible baseball. And Lovello, the manager, watching the Diamondbacks, I don't know if you saw or if you realize the same thing, but that team doesn't – I mean, we complain sometimes about the Angels not having a true leader on it. That team looked lost, and you could tell they don't have any leaders. I mean, it's plain as day, right?
Yeah, the Diamondbacks are I don't exactly know which phrases to use without totally sounding completely negative towards them, but I think you're absolutely right. I mean, they're just kind of a team playing without a purpose. And, you know, that might just be kind of a tacky phrase to use, but I mean, they just look kind of dead inside. You know, it's kind of like that meme where, like, the dog when the house is on fire, he's like, this is fine. We're fine. Like, that's literally the best way to think about it. They just have no passion. They just have no desire. And that's kind of like the argument that people were making about the Angels when Trout first went out. Mm-hmm. It was kind of that, you know, like, oh, here we go again. We're just going to kick the can down the road for another 4 innings. This game will be over. And that's what they look like the Diamondbacks are playing like.
And I'm glad you brought that up, too. That's a good transition because you hit on all the points I was hoping you would. And then talking about what happened with the Angels when they lost Trout, you know, we actually had it brought to us on our page and through a link that they actually had a freaking team meeting, something that yourself was asking for, myself was asking for in the post games. And we wanted to know if this team had the gusto or the cojones to do it. And they hadn't. And then all of a sudden we find out 10 days later, because the OC media really wasn't, I guess, doing their job, like your Jeff Fletchers, because I'm telling you, bigger markets there, you would have known that there was a team meeting. Someone would have leaked it. Someone would have said, hey, man, we had a powwow. We needed to straighten things out. We need to call people out. We need to get our ass together. We needed to be chewed out, because since they've done that, you know, the Upton thing came along with him leading off. The pitchings looks much better. They've gotten their shit together, with the exception of a little bit tonight. We'll get into that. But for the most part, the bullpens come together. The team's hitting a lot better. They're putting guys on base. There's traffic. I mean, what do you think? I mean, we've been calling for this, and it finally happening, you know, without Trout.
Real quick, before I give my opinion on this, who do you think was leading that?
Oh,
Who do you think, like if you had to pick maybe like three guys, who do you think were, who do you think was the George Knox of that meeting?
ooh, and Knox. I love the reference too.
Yeah, for anybody who doesn't know George Knox, Angels in the outfield, when he was
Yeah.
like throwing the bat, it would say, "One more loss, that could have been a win."
Yep.
That scene. If you haven't seen the movie, it's free on YouTube. I don't know if I should have said that, but it is.
Going to your question on that one, on the geez, I don't know who it is, because this team is so transparent when it comes to actual leaders showing up. I mean, I would imagine maybe Stassi, or
Stassy's one that I would have said.
Yeah, Stassi, or even like, say for instance, a guy who's been on enough winning teams like a Suzuki even. And notice I picked two catchers, because I think other than that, I don't know of anybody else on this team that would actually would grab someone by the neck and be like, dude, come on. You know what I mean? Like,
you don't think Upton would? I mean, he was been on many winning teams, right?
I would
Well,
agree.
I don't know about many winning teams, but he was on the Tigers when they were good.
He was on Atlanta when they were good too, I believe.
Yep, sorry.
No,
Padres in 2015 were supposed to be good.
I think Arizona was decent when he was there too. I'm not sure if they were playoff caliber. But you're right. Upton is another guy outside of those two catchers, I would say, that maybe would step it up, because if he was, his play is definitely showing that he's a leader, because he transformed that lineup by himself in a way. So, since they've had those meetings, I mean, what do you think, man? I mean, this was the shot in the arm they needed, right?
Absolutely. It's definitely a much different team, at least for the last week that we've seen. One thing that I've told you many times on the post-game show, and I'm sure many of the fans have seen my comments, it's possible to lose a game and play a good game of baseball. True. It's possible to lose a game and take the momentum from it. You got to take the good and everything. And I know, it's very easy to, to just be like, hey, we're going to DFA everybody. Our listeners love saying that, which is fine. There's some people I agree with. But, overall, you need to take the good out of these losses to turn the next game into a great game. Because there's certainly some positives for today's game, but it was just, the beginning of it. Like we keep on saying, we'll get to it. We will. But, I would definitely say that this teams look different over the last week. When they've been down, you can tell they have not been out.
That's true. And like you said, I like to hit on that too. We do have a lot of sarcastic fans, so they're loving,
and we love it. We love it. Keep it going.
Yeah. We love it because they do love their team. They could take shots at them and not get butthurt. But in the reality is they don't want them to suck. They don't want them to stink. They wouldn't watch the way they did if they didn't. So sometimes it gets misconstrued by the first fans that come in, or the casual fans are like, man, you guys got a tough crowd. It's like, no, not really. They just love this team and they're trying to
the honks.
Yeah, the honks. honk. We'll get to that at some point on another episode. But yeah, you were gonna say something. I'm sorry, I cut you off right there.
Oh no, I just coughed and said honk.
Okay.
The honks. That's it.
The video brings a different thing to this, but yeah, the way that Angels have been playing has been very. I don't have the specific numbers other than they've won 9 of their last 13, but I know there's more wins before that. They've been playing much more solid, more better baseball. Not leaving, well, exception of tonight, leaving too many men on. They haven't been leaving too many men on besides tonight. Like I said, the pitching had gotten better. The traffic, which is impressive, has been more on the bases. You've been pushing pitchers a little bit more. Our pitchers aren't getting bullied as much anymore. Whatever they're doing, they're tightening it up. And I know it's not going to last like this for a long time, but what it's done is it's gotten us back in the race. And, we're right there in the wild card where, division-wise, if we can turn the next couple of games around, we're really right there. And, it's considering where this team has been, there's been so much turmoil on and off the field. You got dick pics, you got, guys going in and out of the lineup because of injury and all kinds of turmoil. If this team does make it to the postseason, for as much as we bashed him early, Madden, this dude could be someone that gets a coach manager of the year type, vote or two.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Joe Madden's just been such a mixed bag. I'm a fan of him because I do know that he is a winner. because, we do have to look at his overall,
Yes.
success as a manager.
Mhm.
It's really easy to look at last year, but, we say it all the time. I mean, I'm not going to say last year didn't count. Unfortunately, it did, and maybe not in our hearts. But, according to everyone else in the league, it did count.
Mhm.
So, the record is what it was. But we also got to remember, Joe Madden was, he couldn't have team meetings with these guys because of COVID.
Mhm.
He couldn't really have interactions in the clubhouse with these guys because of COVID.
Oh, yeah.
You were basically talking through a plexiglass screen. That's weird going to show and saying, hey, can I get 20 number 3 through plexiglass? Can you imagine trying to make a connection with, Jose Suarez, Patrick Sandoval, these young guys, Joe Adell?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, man, we want you to do well. Here's what you're doing wrong. You can't lift his elbow. You can't touch him. You can't do any of that stuff. It sounds weird, but this is the stuff we just don't think about.
Yeah, it's true. No, I didn't even think of that because I think last year, the way it went down, spring training get canceled, minor leagues getting canceled. I was just shaking my head. Like when we talk about Madden, we kind of have those head scratcher moments. I had the head scratcher moment with the league on why they continued the season. I think last season should have just been X'd out. Well, they're the money.
The money.
They had to pay the what is it called? The channels, the sports channels.
Yeah.
But I get you on that. But I mean, as a realist, bro, as much as I love baseball, obviously we're doing a baseball podcast and everything else like that. But I would really have wished that they would have just canceled last year for obvious reasons, for the Doyers winning, number one. But number two, it's the fact that it didn't feel right. The entire season, everything you just mentioned doesn't feel like baseball. And there was no fans, and it was a janky postseason. So I would much rather just forget it and just joke around and say it didn't happen. I get what you're saying as far as it does count. But damn, dude, if they could have canceled last season, I would have been like, hey, man, where do I vote? Because you got my vote.
Yeah, and I remember spending the entire year like, man, I need baseball. Mm-hmm. But when we finally got it, it was just a carbon copy of fakeness.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like that, imagine like a dream girl that you had in high school, and all of a sudden you get to date her now, but, she's not the same, and plastic surgery and all this stuff.
3 kids later.
Exactly. It's just not real anymore. It's just, you had your idea of what you wanted. We all wanted a full season. Of course, we love this game. But was it really worth it? I mean, 60 games for what? I mean, for Trout to pass Tim Salmon? Great. Mm-hmm. I mean, I would have rather just lost the year thinking back now, but hey, hindsight's 2020. All we can do now is focus where we are right now. As of right now, I don't think Joe Madden's doing a bad job. If I had to give him a letter grade, I'd give him a B- right now because there's potential. But that's the thing, man. This team has always had potential. Mm-hmm. I was actually talking with my friend today who's a Red Sox fan, so we'll give him poop for it later. We'll give him crap for it. I forgot this isn't a PC show.
Exactly.
We'll give him crap for it later. But he told me, like, if you have to compare the Angels to one like football team, who do you think it would be? And I couldn't for like a minute. I was like, man, what team has just kind of always had potential but couldn't put it together? Here's another team I hate. I told you I hate the Patriots. I hate the Cowboys. But the Angels have kind of always been like the Cowboys. They've always kind of been on the fringe. They've always kind of had those guys. And people are like, oh, how do they keep losing with these guys? But it's the same kind of thing with the Cowboys. They always had the potential. They just never put it together.
The only thing is, I'm with you on that one as far as the record, but the hype though the Cowboys get is nothing like what the Angels get.
Yeah, I mean that's unfair though. I mean, right? They're America's team. I'm putting air quotes for guys who are listening to this. It's not. They're not.
They're self-anointed America's team. But if I had to compare them, I would compare them to my football team. Pre Russell Wilson. If you followed the Seahawks pre-Russell Wilson, good on you, because for the most part, they were tucked away in the Pacific Northwest. No one really knew about them. They were known for probably being under 500 or the whipping boy in the AFC West, and they would sometimes get to 500 but never get over the hump.
Yeah, maybe you guys are in like the 2000 Angels phase where we were kind of like in our glory days. Maybe that's the Seahawks right now. Because the only fan you guys had before was the kid from Free Willy.
Pretty much.
Wearing that Seahawks.
That's
wearing that Seahawks hat.
That's the meme that I always get rubbed in my face, dude. So yeah, that's bad memories. But it's true though. I mean, we had the coolest jerseys back then and couldn't win to save our butts. But yeah, they were a 500 team, and I think the Angels for the last 6 years remind me of them because they had some stars back then on that team. It's just they never got over the hump. Now, obviously, Trout's nothing like we didn't have a star like that in football, like a Trout guy, but the fact that you could see that they're just missing a couple things, man, and they're never provided with it. So that's why going into this season, yourself and myself and a few others that have done shows prior have said, hey, you know what, Perry's could be the guy to get us these guys to get us to the next level. And with, like we said, all the turmoil this team's gone through, to be sitting now 33-33, considering how many games they were back, there's a good chance in the second half of the season, we could be right there in a wild card, or potentially some of these division teams like the Oakland and Houston that are just ahead of us could fall back.
Absolutely. The one thing I've loved about baseball is it's a marathon, not a sprint. And that's why last year felt so fake. It was a sprint the entire time.
Exactly.
My father-in-law, soon-to-be father-in-law, bless his heart, great guy. He always just says, like, oh, man, baseball's too long. There's too many games. And I always tell him I disagree. Baseball needs to have a large amount of games because, the way the sport is, it's all about endurance. It's all about staying healthy. It's all about making moves at the right time. All it is getting hot at the right time. And unfortunately, the Angels have just never gotten hot at the right time. They get hot. Some guy gets hurt. They get hot. Some guy gets hurt. And it happens every single year. And, obviously us Angels fans are tired of it. But that's really what it boils down to. Any real Angels fan cannot disagree. That is what it literally boils down to. Never getting hot at the right time. You have guys like Mike Trout, who down the stretch always cools off in September every year.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? He'll either get hurt in the middle of the year, or he'll healthy, and all of a sudden just in September he forgot how to hit.
And I agree with you there. And a fan brought it up in the post game the other day was it just seems like we get on a streak and then it's the AllStar break. And that's happened several times where you're thinking, hey man, if the AllStar break's not there, we're rolling. And that first series out of the AllStar break, we kind of crap ourselves. So we lose all the momentum. And I think you're absolutely right. I mean, this team, there has been a couple of years under Socha where they just had god-awful Aprils and subpar Mays, and they spend the rest of their season trying to catch up, even trading away some guys, and they get better. And then all of a sudden at the very end, they just run out of time. Because last year I had several people saying, man, if this team just had 10, 15 more games, they would have made the postseason. And
I was one of those people.
Yeah, and they're probably right because they were right on the cusp and they just got hot at the wrong time again or too late,
But the biggest thing for them last year is you can never let other teams determine your fate.
Exactly.
Because, the ball wasn't in their court. They needed to win out in that series against the Dodgers, but they also needed some other stuff to happen. And that's why those early starts are so important. We can keep saying like, oh, it's a long season, but you have to keep taking care of your own. And that's why those last two series were so big. All you can ever do is just kind of keep your head down and keep grinding. It doesn't matter if the A's are winning. It doesn't matter if whatever team in baseball is winning. All you can do is keep winning your games. Because in theory, if you win your games, everything else will work itself out. And unfortunately, with baseball, that doesn't always happen. There's a lot of 99-win teams that don't make the postseason. But at least if that's the case, man, if the Angels don't make the postseason this year, but they win 90 games, I'll be happy.
Oh, absolutely.
It's just about having a winning record. We lose out and, the playoffs, but we did whatever we could to get in, and we missed it by a game or two. You know what, man? We had a positive season. We had a good winning percentage, something to build up for next year. But we got to get there first.
And at that point, I would take it the same way. I would just say, hey, you know what? We don't need that much to get much better to get to our goal. We just need to add a few things. We need to tweak a few things. So those are positives too. But getting back to it, I think too, in what happened last season, we've pointed out too, you had early losses to Texas and Seattle, teams you should not be losing to. And we've both agreed on this. If this team takes care of its division, at least the crappy part of it, and you play these teams 16 to 19 times a year. So if you're able to win those series against the lesser teams, that's going to give you a boost automatically. I mean, just ask the Dodgers why they're always in the postseason, because they clean up their division every year. They get torched by the Central. The Central owns them for years. The East is kind of 500 with them. it's the National League West that they just are able to walk all over. This year being the exception, but most years they're able to just walk over their opponents. And if the Angels had been able to take care of their division the last few years, things could be a lot different.
Yeah, I mean, look at a year like 2015. It came down to the last game of the year. It was Garrett Richards pitching. Yeah, I mean, think about it. One game would have been the difference that season, and we could have at least forced a game 163.
Yep.
And then, I mean, I think every other year since it's been, like I think 2017, we were 5 games out. And, you think about those kind of contests where you could have beat the Seattles. You could have beat the bad Rangers. You could have beat all these teams that were struggling and scuffling at that time. But, for whatever reason, they just didn't get it done.
Exactly. And that's been the problem with the Angels. But, hey, you know what? At least this year it's changed a little bit. They look a little bit better in these type of games. They just got to keep that flow going. So we've teased it enough. We are what's today's date? The 15th? It's the 15th today?
It's the 14th, but it's about to be the 15th in a minute. So
okay, well then for the 14th, and that would be the Angels in Oakland game 1. That was the big game that me and you circled, and a lot of Angel fans circled, especially after they swept those 2 series. We can, a sweep would get us within 3. 2 out of 3 gets us to win 5. That's what we're shooting for. 2 or 3 at worst. Let's get a sweep at best. But tonight didn't go as good. Why do you think that happened tonight? Dylan Bundy on the mound.
Man, Dylan Bundy does not look like himself this year. And, there's a lot of speculation as to his spin rate going down. Could he have been a spider tack guy? Maybe. But, I mean, we can sit here and play the ins, ands, and buts all day long. But the only thing we do know is that his spin rate was down significantly today. So, his fastballs were flat. He kind of pitched without any kind of purpose. His pitches didn't have purpose, and it was obvious. He just kept kind of putting him out there. And that was the comments that I was seeing everywhere. His fastball looks flat. His curveball was actually decent today. But, when you're pitching without a purpose and your pitches are flat, major league hitters are going to take advantage of that. You said that exact same thing on the postgame show.
Yeah, this just turns into batting practice, and you look at a guy like Dylan Bundy, and we're not used to him having a now, 7 ERA or it's higher with this start.
Yeah.
He had a 6 coming in, and I believe, and you've seen it too, he got gypped out of a few wins early on in the season. So I was thinking right now he should be sitting at 3-4, maybe 3-5, something like that. But now the sad reality in a contract year, at least in the first half of the season, you're sitting there at 1-7 with a high ERA.
698. I just confirmed that. So I was looking at my phone. So yeah, 698.
Yeah. So like basically a 7. And, like you said, your fastball's lost velocity. He got away with it a few times early in the season. He would lose like a 3-2 game, but, he would make one mistake where he just left one out and over the plate. But you're not even getting like 5 innings from this guy who would battle through a start. You know what I mean? 5-6 innings. Yeah. And we were looking at 5 or 6 innings for an Angels pitcher earlier in the year and going, hell yeah, like a complete game. But the pitching's been much better. And now he looks like the weakest link before Quintana, So it's very, very, it's very concerning that he's pitching the way he is right now. And I think you could see that too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he was kind of the guy who you were hoping was going to be your guy this year, along with Shohei. You were kind of hoping that they were both going to be the aces. And, obviously with Shohei, we didn't know what to expect this year. We were just hoping he was going to be 2018 Shohei, and he has been and better as far as pitching. But, yeah, man, Dylan Bundy has just not looked himself this year. But, are we seeing the normal version of Dylan Bundy? Was last year just a fake Dylan Bundy? Was it the spider tack? What was it? And it's getting harder and harder to think that last year wasn't a fluke. But I really hope I'm wrong. But they certainly have some choices to make when Quintana comes back.
Yeah, we do. And the pitching is it's getting to a point now where we're looking at it. And before we had no options in the minors. We brought this up too. Now you got 4 starters, or 4 guys who can potentially crack this rotation, whether it's Quintana's spot or down Bundy's spot. And we haven't talked about Heaney. Heaney's been the quiet guy in the room because he's actually put together, again, another 3-game starting streak where he's been settled. And he pitches tomorrow, lo and behold. So he'll be tested again tomorrow to see if he's turned the corner again. It's been very hard to judge him because he's been like a roller coaster up and down. But whereas Bundy's just been a free fall. and since his early starts. So that is very concerning. Like you said, you got starters on the way that could crack this rotation. Tonight's game started out 2-1, and after Lagares hit the home run, Oakland got 5 spot, and it was 7-1. You thought the game was over, but credit the bullpen, 5 2/3 of very good baseball, and pitched. And look what happened. The Angels were able to keep the game close, and they were able to at least get back in it. But man, what was the
interesting?
Yeah, what was the Achilles heel though tonight, man, for the Angels?
I mean, it doesn't take a baseball analytics expert to know that it was the lobster fest that was happening out there. I mean, they had Red Lobster up there.
Yeah.
But what I think you said, was it 21 men left on base?
21 guys left on base. Yeah,
that's crazy to me.
But
you could have fielded 2 baseball teams. The amount of guys left on base.
That is true. And the craziest stat was when I was too busy getting caught up on the Angels side, I happened to peek at the Oakland box score, and they left 20 guys on base. So they left 1 guy less, but they still scored 8 runs.
But they won. That's the difference. They won.
Yeah.
If we won, nobody would care. They could leave 100 guys on base. Mm-hmm. We won 1-0. That's all people care about.
Yeah, no one would have looked at the lobster thing at all.
Because it doesn't matter. The left on base doesn't matter if you win the game. That's the difference. Oakland got the job done today, and we didn't. The situational hitting has been there for the last week and a half. Going back to that Mariners series, they were losing games, but at least those were decent games. They were still playing good baseball, though they were losing. But today, more or less, it was not a good game. And you had guys like Iggy, who did pretty good. You had Fletcher do pretty good. I mean, both those guys contributed, but Ohtani, Walsh, they just didn't get the job done today. And I'm starting to worry a little bit about Walsh. I think I'm not worried in the sense of, hey, we need to bench this guy. I'm just worried, maybe this guy shouldn't be facing lefties.
I'm with you on that. I mean, tonight between the two, Upton and Walsh, they left 12 guys on. So so that's terrible. Upton had 3 strikeouts. It's kind of hard to get on Upton because he's been so productive. He's been on 14 straight games. He had a walk tonight, even though he was 0 for 4. Walsh did have 2 hits, but he just didn't have a hit with a guy on base. And when we needed him to get a hit with a guy on base, right away in the first inning, let's just say Walsh hits one of his patented lifting the legs, putting one down the right field line. It's 3-0. And you have a really good opportunity for Bundy to settle down and pitch with a lead. I think Bundy would pitch different with a lead opposed to either in a tight 1-run game or no score. Not saying that would have changed the outcome, but maybe it would have given a little more incentive, like you said, because he didn't have much on his balls tonight. But I'm with you, though. I do believe that he should lay off the lefties. I mean, we do have other options like Phil Gosselin we could use to play first base for now. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know if they're just thinking the same thing with Ohtani, like, hey, just run him out there. Because sometimes Ohtani has a hard time versus lefties too. So we'll just have to see how this one goes. But I just definitely don't want to see his confidence go down because he's a hell of a player.
Yeah, I think today was just an example of, the team was hot. So going in, nobody questioned the lineup, right? You want to play your hot hand. For all, Jared Walsh is still your hot hand.
Mm-hmm.
I have not lost faith in Jared Walsh. I think he's going to be an exceptional major leaguer. Mm-hmm. But he just needs to learn how to handle the lefties. And in all fairness, the best way to do that is by facing lefties. And I'm sure that's something he's going to acquire as time goes on. But it's also Joe Maddon's why am I blanking here? It's also Joe Maddon's job to learn these patterns and adjust. You're the manager. You got to be like, hey, Jared Walsh is struggling right now. Maybe we'll give him some at-bats against Quintana, during pre-games or something, so he can learn how to hit off lefties. So,
shoot, right now, I'd be like, if you can't hit off Quintana, then maybe you should be hitting lefties. But I would have him go against Sandoval, the way that dude's pitching. Man, I'm impressed by Sandoval. What about you?
Dude, yeah, absolutely. You and I were talking about a new segment where we would talk about, like an underappreciated Angel of each week. Mm-hmm. And I don't think there's any doubt anybody has that it's Patrick Sandoval. I was jokingly calling him King Sandoval all over Facebook, and I was getting likes all over the place. I think people are starting to really be big Sandoval fans. And what I told you on our last episode on the other page we will talk about, you and I had said that those are the kind of guys that win you rings. And I mean, it's true. Those are the guys you want to do well, because these are the guys that are going to be the difference to A, getting in the season, and B, doing some damage while you're in there.
That's true. And this is a guy that the major leagues haven't really seen, and he's developing his craft on the go. He's getting better with every start, which we hadn't seen in the prior 2 seasons leading up to this. Like I think the same thing could be said for Suarez. Both these pitchers look deer in the headlights at times, couldn't avoid the big moment, couldn't get past certain innings. They just seemed hittable at times. Now they seem to be adjusting. So like if hitters are starting to swing their fastballs, they rely on their curveballs or their placement. It's really nice to see that these guys are progressing right in front of us.
Absolutely. Here's some of these numbers for Sandoval. So in his last start on the 13th, 6 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. But what that doesn't tell you is that he had the most swing and miss stuff in baseball this year. Right, I think it was something like 32 whiffs or something like that, which is crazy high on the 6th of this month. 6 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 10 strikeouts. So maybe that's the game where I'm thinking about where he had whiffs. And then finally, the 27th in Oakland, 5 innings, 5 hits, no earned runs. So Patrick Sandoval has been on absolute fire, and as of right now, I don't think I'd have a heart to send him down or even take him out of the rotation. There's a lot more weak links right now. You're only as strong as your weakest link, and right now the weakest link is not Patrick Sandoval.
Yeah, I think he's earned his spot. It would be a slap in the face to the team, not just Sandoval, but to the team.
Absolutely.
If you take him out of the rotation. And I hope Madden sees that. I hope the guys see that. Matt Wise sees that. I would have
Perry Benazzi needs to see that, because Perry's the one making that decision. Perry can't send him down right now. I will drive down to the Big A myself. I'll walk there if I have to.
You'll drive your bike from Lakewood all the way to the Big A, the house that the Cowboy built that Artie made so much better, aka the Big A. Roger Lodge right there.
Yeah, I used to pay a quarter to sit up there and watch Nolan Ryan. I'm like, no, you didn't.
Yeah, shut up, dude.
You did not.
Man.
Yeah, but nobody went. My godfather's a Reds fan. He grew up in Costa Mesa, and he always gives me a hard time that nobody went to the Angels games back then. You know what I mean? The Angels were just kind of that team that was there. And I mean, most long-term Angels fans know that's true. You know, we've kind of developed a lot of our fan base like in the 90s.
Yeah. Because Anaheim wasn't all that big back in the 70s either. You know what I mean? Like it was like a suburb.
Exactly.
It wasn't the city or the metropolis that it is now. So let's wrap this up, man. We're almost 40 minutes into it. Like I said, this podcast is going to be about Angels baseball. Obviously, we're going to do some stuff during the weekend and everything else like that. We have a lot more surprises to throw at you guys and girls out there. But this one's going to be sometimes long, sometimes short. This one's a little short because of time that we have tonight. I got to go to work. It's not on Fernando, so I apologize for that. But we hit a lot of topics tonight, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Like Todd said, we have a lot more stuff on the horizon. I can tell you guys right now that if everything works out the way it's supposed to, Todd and I have a huge surprise on the horizon. Fans are really going to love it, and I promise it'll make up for the short episode. I promise.
There you go. Yeah, my boy's been putting in some work here. Fernando's a big part of this squad here, and we're going to introduce more cast of characters. So this is not at all any bit my show at all. This is all us. And it's an us feel. It's an us page. It's a fans page. So you guys will be able to participate too, especially through Instagram, through Twitter, contact us through Facebook, whatever other forms we're going to be on, Twitch and YouTube. You're going to have your chance to talk with us here live and share your baseball facts, your stories with us. So
yeah, that'd be really cool. We'd love to hear, your stories, like you said, what makes you an Angels fan, this, that, the other, everything there is to know. We're open books when it comes to that kind of stuff. And if you guys have anything that's going to make the show better, I don't think Todd or I or anybody this team would ever turn you guys away or your ideas. Keep on sending them in. We love hearing you guys. We love hearing what we can do to make the show better for you. Everybody says that, but I promise it's the only reason we're here. It's for you guys. Besides that, we're just blubbering idiots who like baseball.
There you go. I couldn't have said it any better myself. So for Todd Fox, just keep checking us out. Give us a 5-star or just comment. That helps as well. You got anything else, Fernando?
Nope. Thank you guys so much for listening. Spread the word.
There you go. So this is the Angels podcast here called Halos in the Infield. We might have another name for it. We don't know yet, but that's it for now. You guys have a good rest of your evening /day/night /whatever.
Have a good night, everyone.